When we think about logic, we usually think about these big, loud rules that shape every argument we make. But today, we're going to explore a rule that's defined by its absence, a silent rule that, just by being quiet, changes absolutely everything. So let's dive in and see what it's all about. Okay, so picture this. You have a fantastic idea, right? A single, perfect assumption. But what if the moment you used it in an argument, poof, it was gone, consumed? You couldn't just copy-paste it over and over again. How would that change the way you think? That's really the core question we're digging into today. So this mystery that we're about to unmask, it all revolves around something called the contraction rule. And honestly, it's a rule that's so fundamental to the way we normally think about logic that most of us don't even know it exists. It's like this invisible engine of duplication just humming in the background of our arguments. So what is this thing exactly? Well, the contraction rule is basically the ultimate copy-paste function for logic. It just says that if you have an assumption, you can go ahead and duplicate it as many times as you need within a proof. You can contract two instances of an idea into one or expand one into many. It's pretty much an all-you-can-eat buffet for your premises. And this sets up a huge contrast. Two totally different worlds of logic. On one hand, you've got traditional logic, where an idea is kind of like a digital photo. You can copy it and reuse it forever, and the original is never affected. But in the other world, the one we're exploring, an assumption is treated more like a finite resource. Once you use it, it's consumed. And that, right there, is the crucial point. It changes logic from a system of abstract truths into a system of resource management. So this brings us to the big question, right? This rule seems incredibly useful. Why would any logician ever want to silence it? I mean, what could you possibly gain by getting rid of your logical copy-paste button? Well, it turns out there are some really powerful motives. Our little investigation here has revealed three key motives. First, it allows you to manage propositions as if they were actual, tangible resources. Second, it's a really elegant way to sidestep some tricky logical paradoxes. And third, and this one's a bit more technical, it helps clean up and simplify the very structure of formal proofs. Let's take a quick look at each one. Okay, so for resource management, this is a huge deal in fields like computer science, where you actually need to track how many times a value gets used. For avoiding paradoxes, well, some of those mind-bending self-referential paradoxes actually rely on being able to freely copy a statement about itself. If you disable that, you can stop that circular reasoning dead in its tracks. And for proof theory, some logicians found the rule to be, and I love this phrase, technically embarrassing. It just made a process called cut elimination, which is really just a way to simplify proofs, way messier than it needed to be. Silencing the rule cleans the whole process right up. And this finally brings us to the name for the hero of our story, the logical system where this silence of contraction is a core feature. It's known as affine logic. This is the place where that rule of infinite duplication is intentionally left out of the party. Now, affine logic isn't some lone wolf out there. It's actually part of this fascinating family called substructural logics. You can think of these as, experimental labs where logicians get to tweak the fundamental rules of logic just to see what new systems and possibilities pop out. They're constantly asking, hey, what happens if we remove this rule or change that one? And this table here does a brilliant job of showing exactly where affine logic fits in. Now, to get this, we need to know two key rules. We've already met contraction. That's our copy-paste rule. The other one is called weakening. Weakening is basically the ability to introduce new, even totally irrelevant assumptions whenever you want. Think of it like adding extra ingredients to a recipe that you don't even end up using. So look at the table. Standard logic up top allows both. Super strict linear logic at the bottom says no to both. And right there, smack in the middle, is our affine logic. It says no to duplication, but yes to adding extra, unused assumptions. It's in this really unique sweet spot. So let's zoom out for a second. What's the big takeaway here? I think the most profound implication of silencing the contraction rule is this complete shift in perspective. It forces us to see logic not just as a tool for thinking about timeless truths, but as a dynamic system for managing finite resources. This quote really just nails the essence of our entire journey today, doesn't it? It's this move from a logic of pure abstract truth to a logic of process, action, and consequence. The moment you treat an assumption like a resource, every single step in your proof suddenly has a cost. It's such a subtle change, but it has massive implications for everything from philosophy to computer science. And that leaves us with one final, kind of provocative thought. We often see logic as the bedrock of rational thought, right? The unchangeable foundation. But systems like affine logic prove that even these foundational rules can be changed. So the question is, if we change the rules of the game for logic, are we also in some way exploring brand new ways to structure thought itself? What new worlds of reasoning are just waiting out there for us to discover?